guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Dr. Kathleen Pressois, and I'm here to bring you another wonderful and informative video. So in this week's video, I'm going to be answering one of the questions that were in my comments, asking how to stay on track with whatever diet you're on while you're on the go. So you all know that I am keto vegetarian, so I always am going to promote that as I've had such success with that diet. However, this really can apply to anybody on any type of diet. So I just wanted to give you guys my top 10 tips on how to stay on track while you're on the go. Even though we're supposed to be social distancing ourselves and a lot of us are working from home, so it's a lot easier to control what we're eating and putting in our mouths while we're at home. However, a lot of us are also essential workers. Anyway, so for those of us who are there to bless others with our services and our gifts and talents that God has bestowed upon us, I wanted to share with you my top 10 tips on how to stay on track to losing weight on your weight loss journey on the go. So if you want to find out my top 10 tips, stay tuned. And while you're waiting, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button below. I'd really appreciate it, and so will you. So my first tip is plan. And I'm emphasizing that because it is so important that you plan out any outing that you plan on having, whether you want to do it day to day or weekly, because there are so many times where we might hit a pitfall because we didn't plan. And as the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So what do I mean by plan? Well, first of all, before you leave the house, don't leave hungry. And the reason why you shouldn't leave hungry is because your brain is slowly going to get more and more hangry. It's gonna crave some glucose. And the first thing that you see, you are going to be tempted to eat it. It could be potentially a healthy item, but more often than not, it's gonna be something unhealthy. It might be the pastries in the break room. It might be the potato chips in the vending machine. It might be the soda at the gas station. Who knows? Whatever your choice of poison is, that's going to be your most likely decision. And unfortunately, none of those previously mentioned items are actually going to provide you with any type of nutritional value and are not going to keep you on track to your new lifestyle, a healthier, better you. So what does that mean? Don't leave your house hungry. And then number 2, pack a snack. The reason why I'm saying to pack a snack, even though you are leaving your home, doesn't mean you have to leave empty-handed. For those of us who carry purses, backpacks, briefcases, we can pack some snacks inside of them. Now, I have tons of videos on keto-friendly snacks that I get every month through a subscription plan, which you all can sign up for. Or there's snacks that you can purchase at pretty much any grocery store that will keep you on track. Now, if you want to make sure that they're good for your diet, you can always utilize your meal tracker, such as MyFitnessPal or the Carb Manager app, which I recently did a review and tutorial of. So just so you know, if you want to stay on track, plan. Don't leave the house hungry. So that means eat breakfast or eat dinner if you work the night shift. Number 2, pack a snack. And my last one, number 3, is to meal prep. Hello. If you're leaving the house, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to eat all of your meals that day outside. You can meal prep. You can meal prep on the weekend. You can meal prep the night before. That way, when you're getting ready for work, you're not rushing, getting ready, taking a shower, applying makeup, whatever it is you do to get ready, and then also having to plan a healthy, nutritious meal. We're just, for those of us who are not morning people, or those of us who wake up super early, like before the crack of dawn to get to work, cooking a meal, a healthy, nutritious meal, is really going to take a lot of motivation and determination. Now, if you're already there and you do this already as it is, you're already at the next level, so you can bypass this advice. But if not, then I highly recommend it. So this first tip was actually a 3-part tip. And moving on to my next tip will be number 2. So as I was saying, when you are hungry, you really don't want that to be the time that you're deciding what to eat. You definitely want to have a plan whenever you're leaving the house to ensure that you are going to make the best decision for yourself possible. I just really recommend it, okay? All right, so what's number 2? So let's say you're not going to work and you're going to a place that you've never been before. Like say you're going on a road trip, or you're going to go visit a friend, or even if you're going grocery shopping. I recommend that you scope out the area first. Why? Because you should be looking to see what grocery stores are nearby, what convenience stores are nearby, what restaurants are nearby, because you need to decide what you're going to eat that day. And you really don't want to be tempted by all of the distractions. So what are the distractions? The distractions are fast food restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Popeyes, KFC, Burger King. There's so many, Carl's Jr.'s. There's so many different distractions. And why am I calling them distractions? Is it because I have something against fast food? Absolutely not. As a child, I grew up having my birthday parties at fast food restaurants. I loved having my Happy Meals at McDonald's. I love McDonald's French fries. But when you're on this journey, you have to realize that you can't really go back there, because you're going to go back into the things that the food choices that you made that got you to the point of where you are today. And you just don't want to be tempted. So they're distractions. They're not these evil empires. They're just distractions that are going to keep you away from staying on track. So you want to make sure you scope out the area and look, where can I eat if I'm in a bind? Okay. You can go to a convenience store and you could possibly find sliced apples with peanut butter. You can go to a gas station and find carrot sticks, celery sticks with dip. You can find I'm not a carnivore, but I used to be, so I'm going to promote whatever I think people are going to be eating. You can get these little protein packs that have like meats and cheeses in them and maybe a little bit of like a grainy cracker. You can eat that. You can find water instead of those giant big gulp containers that you get at gas stations. You can find these ice drinks. I really love ice drinks. I feel like I should show you guys these. They're like my favorite. They are flavored. They have no aspartame in them. They're 0 calories, 0 sugar, and you can find them anywhere. So if you're looking for like a soda-ish flavored sparkling water, I highly recommend that you try this option. So with that being said, you want to make sure that you scope out the area for choices that you can make aside from making distractory choices. And then of course there's restaurants. So before you go to this new area, you want to scope out to see where are my options for eating. Now, for having a nice sit down meal. Now, you can choose to get a recommendation from the person that you are visiting or the concierge at the at the hotel, or you can choose to just go online and Google the area. I mean, we all have access to Google. Something that I was told or echoed in medical school was that Google is your friend. And guys, Google really is. You just Google where you're going and you could type restaurants and find out what restaurant you can go to, and you can look at the menu and predetermine what you're going to order at the menu. So that when you're hungry and in a bind, you don't go back to those choices that you made that got you to this point. So what is my number 3 recommendation? So my number 3 recommendation are, what do you do about coffee? So a lot of us live on what I call fumes. I was actually just talking about this with one of my co-fellows, how we will go all day. We will round on our patients. We'll do our procedures. We'll write our notes. And you want to know, the only thing that we had was coffee. That's it. So there's so many different ways that you can have coffee. You can have it hot, you can have it cold, you can have a mocha, you can have a cappuccino, you can have a frappuccino, you can have a latte. There's so many different options. But when you're starting on a new journey of health, wellness, and fitness, you want to make the best choices possible. And when it comes to coffee shops, there's a lot of options that just probably aren't the best. Let's first start with the pastries. You walk in and you smell that aroma of freshly baked bagels. If you're from New York, you already know it's like the best bagel in the world. You can argue with me in the comments. Or you smell those delicious donuts from like Dunkin' Donuts, the best donuts a fast food place can get you. Or you just smell these just like full, warm, baked deliciousness that you probably want to have. But is it really the best option? Like, honestly, like if you think about it, it's probably going to taste good for the 3 seconds that you chew it for, and then it's gonna last in your body for a really long time, because our bodies, remember, what does it do? It's gonna break all that sugar down, and if you don't need it, it's gonna store it as fat. And how do you know if you don't need it right away? Unless you're planning on running a marathon, unless you're about to work out, unless you're about to go on this amazing hike, your body just doesn't need it. So when we think about what we're going to put in our mouths, we have to think about, what does our body need right now? Does our body need to go run up a flight of stairs? Does our body need to go run a marathon? Are we going to the gym? Are we going to be doing exertional activity? If we are not, then our body likely doesn't need sugar. It needs something nutritious. But anyway, that's another tangent. But needless to say, when you're at the coffee shop, you really want to avoid those pastries unless you're about to go embark on this extraneous activity. Now for the coffee, the actual coffee. When you're ordering a beverage, unfortunately, guys, I'm just gonna have to say it. The syrups and the extra packs of sugar and these highly sugary beverages are just not the best option for you. Let's face it, you're going to the coffee shop because you said that I need some fuel to get through my day. Fuel to get through a day of work is not the same as fuel to get through extraneous activity. You don't need a giant spike of sugar to get through work. You might need it to run up a flight of stairs. You might need it to jog. You might need it to survive a short sprint, but you don't need it to get through your day. What you need is something healthy and nutritious. So when you're choosing a beverage, I highly recommend that you try to get just coffee. You can perhaps go to the little station where there's powdered like cinnamon, powdered nutmeg, powdered chocolate. You could powder it on to add some flavor. I also recommend getting your own sugar to add to your beverages. I don't know if you guys have seen my 2 videos ago, I did a video about what I eat in a day, and I like to flavor my drinks with monk fruit extract. It's really small. You can just throw it in your purse, or if you're a guy and you don't carry a purse, put it in your car. when you're going out, it's really tiny, and you could just do a tablespoon, and it doesn't raise your glycemic index. It's not going to cause a giant spike in your insulin, and you won't be storing excess sugar as fat. Okay, it's just my recommendation. No sugar, just avoid it. And then as far as all of those hyper sugary flavored, I know it's for the fall and I know everybody wants pumpkin spice and how delicious it is, but you're going to the coffee shop for fuel. So just get the fuel that you need. Just get the caffeine that you need. Or you can choose tea, like sugar-free green tea works really great as well. So here's my 2 cents. So now let's move into restaurants. So I have already spoken about restaurants as far as scoping them out ahead of time. So what do you do when you have now decided on a restaurant and you now have the menu presented in front? So now you're sitting there and you're super excited because you made the right choice. You picked a healthy restaurant to go to that's going to have something that you can enjoy on whatever diet that you're on. And the waiter comes by and plops a giant bread bowl on the table in front of you. This is how I look at the bread bowls now. Guess what, guys? You do not have to eat the bread in the bread bowl. You also can request not to have the bread bowl. It's actually very simple. A waiter comes by, comes with the bread bowl, and you just say, I actually would prefer if you didn't provide us with bread, although I would really love to indulge in this deliciously baked slice of whatever bread it is. I just can't have it. And they're never offended. I've done it. I literally did this the last time I went to a restaurant. No one's offended. No one looks at you side-eye. And you want to know what? You stay on track. And that's the point. Staying on track. So then what's next? So now it's about the appetizers. So how do you go about choosing an appetizer? Some restaurants have like amazing, huge selection of sample size, family size appetizers. I just recommend you avoid those. Why? Because you're not going to just sample a little bit of everything. You're going to likely eat the entire thing. And when you're going to a restaurant, you want to be mindful of portions. In a lot of American restaurants, the portions of the appetizers are actually the size of a meal. So if you're going to have an appetizer and you also plan on having a meal, be mindful of the appetizers that you're picking. You want to make sure that they are not, number one, highly processed, filled with empty calories, and if you're going to decide to have a meal afterwards, making sure that it's not the same portion size of a meal. Now, I'm not saying to avoid appetizers altogether. I'm just saying to just make the best choice possible. So like if they have like a small salad, maybe you can choose that. If they have something like eggs, or if they have like something that's higher in protein than it is in carbohydrates. If you're on the keto diet, choose that. If you're vegetarian, obviously pick a vegetarian option. If you're a carnivore, you can pick a small meat option. If you're a pescatarian, you could pick a small fish option. But there's no need to get something that's going to be the size of your dinner, because the chances are you're probably going to have dinner too. So what about the next meal? So the next meal, your entree. Now that is where you want to make sure you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. You want to make sure that this is going to get you full. And remember, full just means satiated and that you're no longer hungry. It doesn't mean that you're doubled over. It doesn't mean that you're opening up your belt loops. It doesn't mean that you have to go into a coma as soon as you get home. It just means that you're satiated. So whatever you decide to pick, if they come at you with this giant size portion that's enough to feed 2 people, you have 2 options. You only have to eat however much it takes for you to be full. You don't have to take the entire meal into your body. And another thing, you can always eat half and save half for later. Or, of course, I don't promote being wasteful, but if you decide to pick something that's really not going to coincide with the diet that you're on, then I just recommend that you just leave it at the restaurant. I know there's starving people all over the world, and that we should really be grateful for the food that we have and shouldn't be wasteful. But in terms of maintaining your wellness and your overall health, if the portion is ginormous, just leave it at the restaurant. You don't have to take it home. We don't all need goodie bags. And if you really don't agree with wasting food, then you can take it home and you can give it to someone else. Someone else can enjoy it. Your husband, your wife, your friend, your roommate, your child, your cousin, your coworker, whoever it is, you can share it with them. You don't have to eat it. Now, this one is for the ones who are over 21, the ones who aren't pregnant, and the ones where it's not illegal to drink. So if you're deciding on having an alcoholic beverage at dinner or lunch or even brunch, there's also choices to be made here. You don't have to go for the one that's the highest calorie or the sugariest drink. There's options that aren't as sugary. So you can just think about it. Like something like a margarita is going to be filled with sugar. I mean, they line the rim with sugar if you decide to get the sugar lined rim. Or something like those really sugary cocktail beverages, the ones that taste like juice, and by the time you're on number 3, you don't know your name. Those ones are probably not the best idea. I recommend that you go for things like, if you like wine, Prosecco, I actually found out does not have as much calories in it or carbohydrates. Also, you can opt for tequila beverages, and they usually have beverages that if you read the ingredients, they tell you what they're made out of. And just as a rule of thumb, if you don't want to have highly sugary beverages, stay away from the fruit ones. The fruit ones are just always high in sugar. Why? Because they're not really made with the actual fruit. They're made with a concentrated version of the fruit. So the concentrated version of the fruit has a lot of sugar in it, has a lot of extra chemicals that you can get that punch of that flavor, and it's just not the best. It just isn't. So the next time you go out, just look at the menu, see what it's made out of. You can even ask the bartender what they put in it and just make the better decision. So moving on to dessert. One of my favorite things to indulge in, but I hate to break it to you. You probably can't have it. I'm sorry, but the desserts are just not a good option. Unless you're adamant that you absolutely have to have dessert, chances are by the time it comes to dessert, A, you're no longer hungry. B, you're already full. C, you probably already had drinks. And D, it's probably time to go home or go back to work anyway. So who needs dessert? I'm sorry, the restaurant industry is probably really annoyed with my recommendation. But at the end of the day, you probably don't need it. And anyway, there's just very few dessert items that I can probably recommend. They're just all highly processed or highly sugary. And if you're on any type of diet, they're probably telling you to avoid those. So I just recommend that when they bring over that delightful dessert menu, unless it is your birthday or anniversary, or whatever it is that you could possibly be celebrating, I just recommend that you don't make a habit of having dessert. It's just not worth it. So moving on to my last 4 tips. So if you guys have realized, my first 6 tips were really all geared around food. My last ones are going to be more about motivation, okay? So my number 7 tip is to be in the right mindset. You want to remember that you, yes, you are in control of whatever it is that you're putting in your mouth. No one else is in control of that. The people sitting on either side of you at the dinner table do not have control over you. You have to think about it. If the person next to you is indulging in this delicious pastry that you really want to have because they're having it, that's when you lost control. You allowed somebody else's decision to control your decision. Another thing, when the waiter, like I mentioned earlier, comes and brings you this delightful bread basket filled with the most warm deliciousness in the world. I know it's delicious, but you don't have to have it. Because let's think about it. I mean, a lot of us, when we eat dinner at home, we don't put a bread bowl in front of us and eat 10 pieces of bread before we eat. It's just not necessary. We end up talking while we're eating, and then we end up eating way more than we intended to eat. So remember, you are in control of what you eat. You don't have to fall into peer pressure. You don't have to eat everything on your plate. Some of us, we were raised to finish everything on our plate. I was one of them. My mom used to sit at the table. I was always the last one too. And she would just be like, yeah. One time, I went as far as to throw my food out the window. It didn't work out for me. Anyone know what my mom did? She gave me another plate of food to finish. Yeah. So, you are now an adult. You are no longer a child. You bought the food. You're paying for the food. It's you controlling what you are going to eat. So you can forget about those habits of finishing everything on your plate. You don't have to. You really do not. Number 8. Actually, I mixed number 7 and number 8, guys. Not eating everything on your plate was actually number 8. Anyway, my number 9 tip is it's okay if you mess up. We all mess up. We all have to have do-overs, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5. If you go out and say you have the most processed food, the sugariest food, the fattiest food you could have, the sugariest drink one day, say you just blow everything out the water. Like, every decision that you made that day was a bad decision. Guess what? You are not canceled. And neither is your diet. Neither is your health. Neither is your wellness. Neither is your fitness. You deserve to be in the best shape of your life. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to look in the mirror and feel good about yourself. You deserve to wake up in the morning and be excited to start a new day. So don't let those decisions that you made yesterday, that you made at breakfast, that you made at lunch, determine your future. Your past is in the past. You have no control of the past, but you have control of the present, and you have control of what's potentially to come. The reason why I say that is that because you can plan ahead for the future. Of course, we do not have control of it at this moment, but we can plan ahead. And that's what meal prepping is about. That's what scoping out those areas ahead of time to pick the restaurants, convenience stores, grocery stores ahead of time. And don't sleep on grocery stores. If there's a lot of grocery stores, there's Whole Foods, there's Wegmans, there's Trader Joe's, there's, I think those are about the only ones that I'm aware of, that actually have prepared food that is decently healthy for you. So you don't have to go to a restaurant. You don't have to be tempted with the bread bowl. You don't have to be tempted to get alcohol. And you can have those prepared meals, and usually you can decide how much or how little you want of them and have a nutritious meal if you're not the best cook. So don't sleep on the grocery stores. We'll say that was my number 9. Alrighty, so what is my number 10 and final tip? So guys, you have to remember that when you're on the go, you have your meal tracker. It's on your phone. Don't forget about your meal trackers. They can, number one, remind you when to eat. They will tell you how much you ate. They will tell you how much you have left to eat. A lot of them have restaurant meals that are incorporated in them that people have already added that you can just quickly add. Don't forget, you can scan what you're about to eat and see how much this will impact your diet for the day. So don't forget your food trackers. And don't forget, I have a video on Carb Manager that you can watch and learn how to use it really quickly. If you have a phone, there's no excuse to not continue tracking what you're putting in your mouth, okay? So that's all that I have for you today. I hope that you found this video informative, and I hope that you will take these tips with you the next time you are on the go. And don't forget, you already know, to like and subscribe and share with your friends and family so that they too can benefit from the latest and greatest advice for the day. Ciao!